for nearly 1,000 years. Their name has refused to disappear. The Knights Templar, a brotherhood born during the chaos of the Crusades, yet remembered today through conspiracy theories, hidden treasure legends, and stories of forbidden knowledge buried somewhere beneath history itself. To some, they were simply warrior monks, elite soldiers tasked with protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. But to others, the Templars were something far more mysterious, a secretive order that may have uncovered ancient knowledge beneath the Holy Land. Knowledge powerful enough to threaten kings, challenge the church, and survive long after the order itself was destroyed. Even now, centuries later, the mystery still remains, because no one truly knows what the Templars discovered during their earliest years in Jerusalem, and perhaps more importantly, no one knows what happened to it. The story begins in the early 12th century. Europe was violent, unstable, and deeply religious. The Crusades had transformed the medieval world, sending thousands of armed pilgrims across dangerous roads toward the sacred city of Jerusalem. Many never arrived. Travelers were routinely attacked by raiders hiding in mountain passes and desert routes. Some were robbed, others simply vanished along the journey. In response, a small group of French knights proposed an idea that would eventually change history. Led by a nobleman named Hugues de Payens, the group traveled to Jerusalem around the year 1119. Officially, their purpose was straightforward: protect Christian pilgrims. At first, there was nothing remarkable about them. They were poor, unknown, small in number. According to early accounts, the order was so impoverished that 2 knights were said to share a single horse. But within a few decades, the Templars would become one of the most powerful organizations in the medieval world, and many historians still struggle to explain exactly how that happened so quickly. Part of the mystery begins with where they lived. The Knights Templar were granted headquarters on one of the most sacred and controversial sites on Earth, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, a location tied to the ancient Temple of Solomon. For centuries, legends surrounding the Temple Mount spoke of hidden chambers buried beneath the city, lost relics, sacred artifacts, ancient knowledge concealed deep underground. And according to some theories, the Templars were not merely guarding pilgrims during those early years. They were searching. For nearly 9 years, the order remained unusually secretive. Very few records survive from that period. There are almost no detailed accounts explaining what the knights were doing beneath the Temple Mount. That silence would eventually become one of history's greatest mysteries, because sometime during those missing years, everything changed. The once poor order suddenly began attracting enormous support. Powerful nobles donated land, wealth, and castles to the Templars across Europe. The church granted them extraordinary privileges. Kings trusted them. Armies feared them. And before long, the order evolved into something far larger than a military force. The Templars became bankers, diplomats, spies, and political advisors. They created financial systems centuries ahead of their time. Pilgrims could deposit money in one country and withdraw it safely in another using coded documents issued by the order. In many ways, the Templars helped shape the foundations of international banking itself. But wealth was only part of what made them dangerous. The real fear surrounding the Templars came from secrecy. Their ceremonies were hidden from outsiders. Their meetings were private. Their inner knowledge remained carefully protected. And throughout history, whenever an organization becomes both powerful and secretive, rumors begin to grow around it. Some claimed the Templars discovered sacred relics hidden beneath Jerusalem. Others believed they uncovered ancient manuscripts capable of challenging religious authority itself. There were stories about underground tunnels, hidden vaults, and knowledge too dangerous for the medieval world to understand. Most historians dismiss these theories as exaggerations created centuries later, but the mystery surrounding the Templars never disappeared. In fact, it only became darker. Because as the order's influence expanded across Europe, so did fear. The Templars answered to no king, no local government, only the Pope himself. That level of independence made them extraordinarily powerful and deeply threatening to rulers who depended on control, especially one man, King Philip IV of France, a ruler drowning in debt, a king who owed enormous sums of money to the Templars, and a man who may have feared what the order truly knew. Then, on Friday, October 13th, 1307, everything collapsed. Before sunrise, royal soldiers across France moved simultaneously against the order. Hundreds of Templars were arrested in a single coordinated operation. The charges were shocking: heresy, blasphemy, secret rituals, devil worship. Under torture, many confessed, but historians today widely believe those confessions were forced. Still, the damage was irreversible. The once powerful order was dismantled almost overnight, its members imprisoned, its properties seized, its leaders executed. Yet amid the chaos of the arrests, something strange happened. For most people, hypnosis feels like something from a movie: a swinging watch, a dark stage, a mysterious voice counting backward while someone slowly drifts into a trance. But according to modern hypnotherapists, real hypnosis is nothing like that. It is not mind control, it is not unconsciousness, and it is not magic. Instead, they describe hypnosis as a deeply focused mental state, a condition where the noise of everyday thought begins to fade, allowing the subconscious mind to rise closer to the surface. A place where hidden memories, emotions, fears, and perhaps something even stranger may exist. For centuries, human beings have wondered whether the mind contains hidden layers beyond normal awareness. Ancient civilizations believed dreams could reveal messages from unseen worlds. Religious mystics described altered states of consciousness during meditation and ritual. And throughout history, there have always been stories of people remembering things they should not possibly know. But it was not until the modern era that hypnosis became associated with the possibility of unlocking those hidden memories directly. In the late 18th century, Austrian physician Franz Mesmer introduced controversial theories about invisible forces affecting the human body and mind. Many of his ideas were later criticized by scientists. Yet the strange psychological effects he produced fascinated Europe. Eventually, the term mesmerized entered popular culture. Over time, hypnosis evolved into a serious area of psychological study. Doctors experimented with it. Therapists used it to treat trauma and anxiety. Researchers explored its connection to memory and suggestion. And, despite centuries of study, the subconscious mind still remains one of the greatest mysteries in human psychology. Because even today, scientists do not fully understand how consciousness itself works, why humans dream, why forgotten memories sometimes return unexpectedly, why certain experiences feel deeply familiar, even when they should not, and, perhaps most importantly, why the mind is capable of creating experiences that feel completely real. Some hypnotherapists believe the subconscious stores far more information than people realize. Every sound, every image, every fear, every hidden emotional wound, buried silently beneath conscious awareness. According to practitioners of regression hypnosis, certain memories can remain hidden for decades before resurfacing under the right conditions. And occasionally, those memories appear to belong to another life entirely. The idea sounds impossible to many people. Yet for decades, stories involving so-called past life regression have continued appearing around the world. Under hypnosis, individuals sometimes begin describing different names, different places, and different historical periods with remarkable emotional intensity. Some claim to remember ancient battles. Others describe religious ceremonies, lost cities, or violent deaths. And in rare cases, people begin speaking about events connected to real historical mysteries. One of the figures most associated with these ideas was hypnotherapist Dolores Cannon. Through thousands of hypnosis sessions conducted over several decades, Cannon claimed many clients described surprisingly similar themes: ancient civilizations, hidden knowledge, non-human entities, and memories connected to secret societies buried deep within history. Her work would eventually influence a new generation of hypnotherapists, including author and practitioner Sarah Breskman-Cosme. According to Cosme, hypnosis allows individuals to quiet the conscious mind and access deeper layers of awareness. She describes the state as something similar to the moments between waking and dreaming, when reality feels strangely fluid and memories become unusually vivid. Over the years, she conducted thousands of sessions with clients from different backgrounds: teachers, parents, students, business owners, ordinary people with no obvious connection to ancient history or esoteric traditions. Yet, according to her accounts, certain themes began repeating again and again: symbols, underground chambers, ancient rituals, and eventually, references to the Knights Templar. At first, the connections appeared random. One client described standing inside a stone hall lit only by candlelight. Another claimed to remember carrying sealed wooden chests through hidden tunnels beneath a fortress. Others spoke of vows of secrecy, sacred relics, and men wearing white robes marked with red crosses. The imagery was strangely consistent, especially considering many of the individuals had never met one another. Some reportedly became emotional during sessions. Others appeared frightened. A few insisted the experiences felt more vivid than ordinary dreams. According to believers, these sessions may represent genuine memories emerging from the subconscious mind, possibly even memories connected to past lives, but skeptics strongly disagree. Psychologists argue that hypnosis can make individuals highly suggestible. The human brain naturally builds stories from fragments of memory, imagination, culture, and emotion. A person may unconsciously absorb historical details from films, books, documentaries, or conversations without remembering the original source. Later, under hypnosis, those forgotten fragments can resurface and feel entirely unfamiliar. This phenomenon is known as cryptomnesia. The memory feels mysterious because the brain forgets where it originally came from, and when emotion intensifies during hypnosis, the experience can feel completely real. Still, certain stories continued attracting attention because of their unusual details. Some clients allegedly described locations connected to long-standing Templar legends, including Oak Island. For more than 2 centuries, treasure hunters have searched the island for hidden chambers and buried artifacts. Legends surrounding Oak Island include pirate treasure, religious relics, secret manuscripts, and eventually theories involving the Knights Templar. During hypnosis sessions, several individuals reportedly described underground structures, symbols carved into stone, and hidden objects concealed beneath layers of earth. Whether those visions represented forgotten information, imagination, coincidence, or something far stranger remains impossible to prove. But the similarities between separate sessions fueled growing speculation online. As these stories spread, more people became fascinated by the possibility that the subconscious mind might access something beyond ordinary memory, a hidden archive buried beneath awareness itself. Some researchers attempted connecting these experiences to Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, a deeper psychological layer shared by humanity through symbols and archetypes. Others believed the experiences reflected unresolved trauma transformed into symbolic narratives by the brain. And then there were those who believed something even more extraordinary was happening, because according to some hypnosis sessions, the Templars were not simply guarding treasure, they were protecting knowledge. Knowledge supposedly hidden from the world for centuries. Stories began emerging about ancient texts, sacred geometry, hidden maps, and encounters with mysterious entities connected to the origins of civilization itself. At this point, the boundary between psychology, spirituality, and conspiracy theory became increasingly difficult to separate. What began as hypnosis evolved into something much larger, a modern mythology built around hidden truths buried beneath history. And perhaps that is why hypnosis remains so controversial, because regardless of whether the memories are real, the emotional impact often is. People emerge from sessions shaken, changed, obsessed with uncovering hidden meaning behind dreams, symbols, and recurring visions. Some lose their fear of death. Others become convinced they lived previous lives connected to ancient events. A few spend years searching for evidence that their experiences were real. And even skeptics admit one uncomfortable truth: the human mind is still deeply misunderstood. Science continues uncovering new information about consciousness every year, yet many questions remain unanswered. Questions about memory, dreams, identity, and the strange hidden world that may exist beneath conscious thought. Perhaps hypnosis simply reveals the imagination at work, or perhaps it briefly opens a doorway into something far deeper than modern science currently understands. Whatever the truth may be, the stories surrounding the Knights Templar were no longer confined to medieval history alone, because according to some researchers, the strangest connections were only beginning to emerge. At first, the similarities did not seem important. A symbol appearing in separate hypnosis sessions, a recurring description of underground tunnels, ancient stone chambers illuminated by candles, men wearing white robes marked with red crosses. Individually, none of these details appeared extraordinary. The Knights Templar are deeply embedded in modern culture. Their imagery appears in books, films, documentaries, conspiracy theories, and video games across the world. But according to some hypnotherapists, the connections became increasingly difficult to ignore because many of the people describing these experiences had never met each other. Different countries, different backgrounds, different lives, yet the same themes continued appearing again and again. Hidden knowledge, secret rituals, underground chambers, and warnings that something important had been concealed from history itself. One woman under hypnosis described standing inside a massive stone hall somewhere beneath Jerusalem. She claimed the room was silent, except for the sound of distant dripping water echoing through the darkness. Along the walls were strange symbols she did not consciously recognize. In the center of the chamber stood several men wearing white cloaks marked with red crosses, the Knights Templar. According to her account, the men appeared frightened, not of war, not of enemies, but of something hidden beneath the floor itself. Another individual described carrying heavy wooden chests through narrow underground tunnels beneath a fortress in Europe. He claimed the men around him spoke urgently about protecting the knowledge before soldiers arrived. When asked what knowledge they were hiding, he became visibly distressed. Then he described books, maps, metallic objects wrapped carefully in cloth, and symbols carved into stone walls deep underground. Whether these experiences represented imagination, symbolism, forgotten memory, or something far stranger remained impossible to prove. But similar stories continued emerging from session after session. And, over time, the mystery only deepened. According to hypnotherapist Sarah Breskman-Kosma, several clients who underwent regression hypnosis began describing details connected to long-standing Templar legends without knowing one another beforehand. Some spoke about hidden chambers beneath ancient churches. Others described rituals involving sacred geometry and coded symbols. A few claimed the Templars were guarding relics they believed could alter humanity's understanding of history itself. To believers, the consistency between sessions was deeply unsettling because the similarities appeared too specific to dismiss as coincidence. But skeptics argue there is another explanation. The human mind is naturally drawn toward patterns, especially patterns connected to mystery and emotion. Once a powerful myth enters culture, people unconsciously absorb fragments of it throughout their lives. Films, books, online discussions, documentaries. Even if someone does not actively study the Knights Templar, the brain may still store scattered pieces of information beneath conscious awareness. Later, under hypnosis, those fragments can reassemble into experiences that feel astonishingly real. And when emotion intensifies during trance states, the memories can become almost impossible to distinguish from reality. Still, some details remained particularly strange. One of the most recurring themes involved hidden treasure. For centuries, rumors have claimed the Knights Templar concealed enormous wealth before the order was destroyed in the early 1300s. Gold, religious artifacts, ancient manuscripts, and, according to some legends, objects connected to biblical history itself. These stories eventually became connected to one of the world's most enduring mysteries, Oak Island, a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia that has fascinated treasure hunters for generations. The mystery began in the late 1700s when several young men reportedly discovered a strange depression in the ground beneath an old oak tree. Curious, they began digging. What they uncovered sparked centuries of obsession. Layers of wooden platforms buried deep underground, flood tunnels, stone markings, artificial structures that appeared deliberately engineered. Over time, theories surrounding Oak Island became increasingly bizarre. Pirate treasure, lost religious relics, ancient manuscripts, and eventually, the Knights Templar. Some researchers believe surviving members of the order may have escaped Europe after the mass arrests of 1307 and transported hidden relics across the Atlantic, long before Columbus officially reached the Americas. Mainstream historians strongly reject these claims. Yet the mystery surrounding Oak Island never disappeared. And, strangely, hypnosis sessions began referencing the island as well. Several individuals reportedly described underground chambers filled with water, symbols carved into stone, hidden vaults buried beneath layers of earth and wood. Some claimed the structures were intentionally designed to prevent outsiders from reaching whatever had been concealed below. Again, no evidence conclusively proves these accounts. But the similarities between separate sessions fueled growing speculation online. Then came another strange pattern: symbols. Across multiple hypnosis sessions, individuals allegedly described variations of the same geometric imagery: interlocking circles, cross-like markings, star-shaped patterns connected to sacred geometry. Some researchers attempted linking these symbols to medieval esoteric traditions and ancient religious architecture. Others argued they resembled common archetypal imagery frequently produced by the subconscious mind. Carl Jung once proposed the idea of a collective unconscious, a deeper psychological layer shared across humanity through universal symbols and archetypes. According to this theory, certain images naturally emerge across different cultures because they are rooted deep within human psychology itself. Warriors, sacred places, shadows, hidden knowledge. The Knights Templar fit perfectly into these ancient archetypes, a secretive brotherhood protecting forbidden truths from the outside world. Perhaps that is why the stories continue resonating so powerfully even today. But some hypnosis sessions became stranger still. Certain individuals claimed they encountered entities during regression experiences, not ghosts, not human spirits, something else. Descriptions varied: tall figures surrounded by light, presences communicating through symbols and emotion rather than language, beings connected to knowledge, memory, and ancient civilizations. According to a few accounts, these entities were somehow linked to the origins of the Templars themselves. At this point, the boundary between history, psychology, spirituality, and conspiracy theory began dissolving completely. What started as medieval mystery evolved into something far larger: ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial influence, sacred geometry, hidden bloodlines, forbidden knowledge preserved across centuries. The internet accelerated everything. A single hypnosis session uploaded online could spread to thousands of viewers within hours. People began comparing recurring dreams, symbols, visions, stories about ancient chambers and hidden relics. Some became convinced the Templars were never fully destroyed. Others believed fragments of their knowledge survived through secret societies operating even today. The Freemasons were often mentioned, so were Rosicrucians and various esoteric organizations. Historians caution that many of these theories rely heavily on speculation rather than evidence. But conspiracy theories rarely survive because of proof alone. They survive because they tap into something emotional. The desire to believe hidden truths exist beneath ordinary reality. And perhaps that is why the Templar legend continues growing generation after generation, because the mystery feels unfinished. What exactly were the Templars doing beneath Jerusalem during those missing early years? Why did their rise to power happen so quickly? Where did their wealth disappear after the arrests? And why do so many people continue reporting strangely similar imagery during hypnosis sessions centuries later? No one truly knows. Perhaps the stories are nothing more than imagination shaped by myth and culture. Or perhaps some mysteries leave deeper marks on the human mind than history can fully explain. But according to certain researchers, the strangest revelations were still to come. Because hidden among these stories were claims that the Templars may not have been protecting treasure alone, but knowledge connected to something far older than medieval Europe itself. For every person convinced the Knights Templar uncovered forbidden knowledge, there is another who sees something far less mysterious. Not secret relics, not hidden civilizations, not memories from past lives, but the natural result of psychology, myth, and human imagination. Because while stories involving hypnosis and ancient conspiracies may sound compelling, skeptics argue there is still no concrete evidence proving anything supernatural ever occurred. And according to many historians, psychologists, and scientists, most of these mysteries can be explained without hidden forces or secret knowledge. One of the strongest skeptical arguments centers around the human mind itself, because memory is far less reliable than most people realize. Most people imagine memory as something permanent, like a recording stored somewhere inside the brain. But modern psychology suggests memory works very differently. Every time a person remembers an event, the brain partially reconstructs it, which means memories can change over time. Details can disappear. New details can be added unconsciously. Emotion can distort perception. And under certain conditions, the brain can even create memories of events that never happened at all. Researchers have demonstrated this repeatedly through studies involving false memories. Participants in controlled experiments have been led to remember childhood events that never occurred, accidents, conversations, entire situations completely invented by researchers. Yet, to the individuals involved, the memories felt absolutely real. And that becomes especially important when discussing hypnosis, because according to skeptics, hypnosis increases suggestibility. In other words, people under hypnosis often become more emotionally responsive to ideas, imagery, and subtle guidance from therapists. Even small suggestions can influence how experiences are interpreted. A simple question like, "What do you see?" may produce very different results than, "Do you see a temple?" Once the imagination begins building a narrative, the subconscious mind can expand vague impressions into vivid emotional experiences. Experiences that feel authentic, even when they are not historically accurate. Skeptics argue this may explain many reports involving past life regression and the Knights Templar. A person may unconsciously absorb information throughout their life, from films, books, documentaries, podcasts, or internet discussions. Later, under hypnosis, those forgotten fragments can resurface disconnected from their original source. This phenomenon is known as cryptomnesia. The information feels mysterious because the brain no longer remembers where it came from. To the individual, it can feel like discovering hidden knowledge, but according to psychologists, the brain may simply be reconstructing forgotten material into a compelling story. And when emotion intensifies during hypnosis, that story can become deeply convincing. The Knights Templar themselves provide perfect material for this kind of psychological effect. Their history already contains secrecy, violence, betrayal, and unanswered questions. A powerful order rises rapidly during the Crusades, becomes wealthy and influential, then collapses almost overnight after accusations of heresy and corruption. Their leaders are executed, their treasures disappear, their secrets remain unknown. To skeptics, this naturally creates fertile ground for mythology, especially in the modern world, where mystery-driven media has become incredibly popular. Books, films, YouTube documentaries, podcasts, video games. The Templars appear almost everywhere in modern culture. Even individuals who believe they know little about the order may unconsciously recognize symbols, imagery, and stories connected to them. A red cross, underground tunnels, hidden relics, secret societies. These themes have become deeply embedded within popular imagination, and under hypnosis, the brain may reorganize those fragments into emotionally powerful narratives. Skeptics also point to the danger of pattern recognition. Humans naturally search for meaning in randomness. This psychological tendency is known as apophenia. People see faces in clouds, hidden messages in static noise, connections between unrelated historical events. Once someone begins believing a mystery exists, every coincidence can start feeling significant. And nowhere is this more visible than in conspiracy theories involving secret societies, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, and, of course, the Knights Templar. According to historians, many supposed links between these groups rely heavily on speculation rather than evidence. Symbols are interpreted subjectively. Historical gaps become proof of hidden conspiracies, and unanswered questions slowly evolve into elaborate mythologies. Even Oak Island, one of the most famous mysteries connected to the Templars, remains highly controversial among researchers. Oak Island. For more than 2 centuries, treasure hunters have searched the island for hidden relics and underground chambers. Strange structures and artifacts have indeed been discovered there, but no verified evidence conclusively connects the site to the Knights Templar. According to skeptics, the mystery surrounding Oak Island survives largely because people desperately want the legend to be true. The absence of answers becomes part of the attraction, because once emotion becomes attached to a mystery, objectivity becomes difficult. Still, even some skeptics admit there are aspects of consciousness science does not fully understand. Dreams, déjà vu, near-death experiences, the origins of consciousness itself. The human mind remains one of the least understood structures in existence. And because of that uncertainty, mysteries continue to survive. But skeptics warn against confusing unanswered questions with supernatural conclusions. Throughout history, humans repeatedly attributed unexplained events to hidden forces before science eventually discovered ordinary explanations. Lightning was once believed to be divine punishment. Disease was blamed on curses and evil spirits. Astronomical events inspired fear of prophecy and apocalypse. Over time, science revealed natural explanations behind phenomena once considered supernatural. Perhaps hypnosis and Templar conspiracies belong to that same pattern, a combination of myth, psychology, and cultural storytelling misunderstood as hidden truth. And yet, there is one thing skeptics often struggle to explain completely: the emotional intensity of these experiences. People who undergo regression hypnosis frequently emerge transformed. Some lose their fear of death. Others become obsessed with ancient history and hidden knowledge. A few completely change the direction of their lives afterward. Whether the memories are objectively real or psychologically constructed, the emotional impact often feels genuine. And perhaps that is why these stories continue surviving generation after generation, because beneath every conspiracy theory, every ancient mystery, and every story about hidden knowledge, there exists something deeply human. The desire to believe reality contains more than what we currently understand. For believers, skepticism may represent closed-mindedness. For skeptics, belief without evidence can become dangerous. And somewhere between those two perspectives, the mystery continues to exist, not fully proven, not fully disproven, suspended in the uncertain space between history, psychology, and imagination, a place where facts slowly fade and mystery begins. For nearly 1,000 years, the Knights Templar have refused to disappear. Empires collapsed, kingdoms vanished, entire civilizations faded into history. Yet somehow, the legend survived, not simply as a historical story, but as something unfinished, a mystery suspended between fact and myth. And perhaps that is why the Templars continue haunting the modern imagination. Because despite centuries of research, no one has ever fully explained why their story became surrounded by such extraordinary legends. Some historians insist the answer is simple. The Templars were a powerful medieval order destroyed during a period of political fear and religious paranoia. Their secrecy inspired rumors. Their sudden downfall created unanswered questions. And over time, storytellers transform those unanswered questions into mythology, a perfectly human process, logical, understandable, expected. But others believe something far stranger may exist beneath the surface, something hidden beneath centuries of silence. And whether one views those ideas as fascinating possibilities or dangerous fantasies often depends on a single question. What if history is incomplete? It is a question humanity has asked for generations. What if ancient civilizations possessed knowledge now forgotten? What if certain discoveries were intentionally hidden from the world? What if secret societies preserved fragments of information lost to time? And perhaps most unsettling of all, what if the human mind itself is capable of accessing memories or realities science still cannot explain? For believers in regression hypnosis, the answer may already seem obvious. They argue the subconscious mind is far more powerful than modern psychology currently understands. A hidden archive buried beneath conscious thought, a place where forgotten memories, symbols, emotions, and perhaps even experiences from another lifetime continue to exist. Under hypnosis, some claim they briefly glimpse that hidden world, ancient chambers beneath Jerusalem, ceremonies illuminated by candlelight, men wearing the red cross of the Knights Templar, and according to certain accounts, warnings about knowledge humanity was never meant to lose. Skeptics reject these conclusions entirely. They argue the subconscious mind constantly creates narratives from emotion, imagination, memory, and culture. Dreams can feel real. Symbols can appear meaningful. The brain naturally searches for patterns in uncertainty, especially when powerful myths like the Templars become deeply embedded in modern culture. To skeptics, there is no hidden conspiracy, no secret bloodline, no supernatural knowledge buried beneath history, only the extraordinary storytelling power of the human mind. And perhaps they are right. But even if every supernatural claim surrounding the Templars were eventually explained through psychology and coincidence, one mystery would still remain. Why are humans so deeply drawn toward hidden truths? Why do stories involving forbidden knowledge and ancient secrets continue surviving across generations? Maybe because modern life often feels disconnected, fast, predictable, artificial. Ancient mysteries offer something different. The possibility that the world still contains secrets waiting to be discovered, that history still whispers beneath the surface, that somewhere, buried beneath ruins, forgotten manuscripts, or the subconscious mind itself, something extraordinary may still exist. And perhaps that hope is more powerful than evidence alone. Throughout history, humanity has always searched for meaning beyond ordinary reality. sacred relics, lost civilizations, secret chambers hidden beneath ancient cities. The Templars became one chapter in that endless search, not because every legend surrounding them was proven true, but because the mystery itself became irresistible, a symbol of hidden knowledge surviving against time. Even now, researchers continue exploring ancient archives and archaeological sites connected to the order. Treasure hunters still search islands and underground tunnels rumored to conceal Templar relics. Writers, filmmakers, and conspiracy theorists continue reshaping the legend for every new generation. And online, thousands of people still debate the same questions that have haunted historians for centuries. What exactly were the Templars doing beneath Jerusalem during those missing early years? Why did their rise to power happen so quickly? Where did their wealth disappear after the arrests? And why do stories involving hidden knowledge continue appearing in hypnosis sessions centuries later? No one truly knows. Perhaps the legends are nothing more than mythology amplified by fear, imagination, and coincidence. Or perhaps some mysteries leave deeper marks on human history than we realize. But maybe the greatest mystery was never hidden beneath Jerusalem, or Oak Island, or secret vaults buried underground. Maybe the greatest mystery has always been much closer, the human mind itself, a place capable of creating myths, preserving symbols, and transforming fear into legend. Science still cannot fully explain consciousness, why humans dream, why certain places feel strangely familiar, why symbols repeat across cultures separated by thousands of years, or why some stories continue resonating so deeply long after history should have forgotten them. And in that uncertainty, mystery survives. Perhaps that is why the Knights Templar continue haunting the modern world after nearly 1,000 years. Not fully real, not fully myth, existing somewhere between history, imagination, and belief. A shadow preserved across centuries, because some mysteries are remembered not for the answers they provide, but for the questions they leave behind. And after all this time, one final question still remains. What if some legends survive because a part of them was true,